It is a very exceptional moment in my house because Hubs is out for lunch with his friends. My son went to his grandma to stay over for the night, and I am all alone in the house without having to rush to go to work, because I am alone in the house quite often, but it's usually because I'm the last one to go out of the house and I'm basically rushing to go to work. But right now I have holiday and I'm not even in a hurry, so this is a very unique and exceptional moment. Anyway, revisiting palettes. Guys, I'm getting a little bit burnt out on all the brown looks. So how about we do another brown look? Because we've got a palette here that I think is the one that I probably need to revisit the most out of everything that I tried so far, because everything else I feel like I've used in the past few months. This quad, on the other hand, I haven't actually used since like the springish and summertime, because in my head these sort of like very warm toned, bronzy, orangey, chocolatey browns belong in the summer, and I never even think of them in the winter. So let's revisit this quad. Sadly, it will be another brown look because, as I mentioned in my previous video, I'm going to start doing my makeup and continue rambling. Apparently, I got a thing for brown eyeshadow when it comes to little quads, but I think it's enough with the brown quads now. So future Mariam, if you ever get the itch to buy more brown eyeshadow in a quad, don't. Jumping to a different topic now. It is unfortunately already December 28 today, and my Star Wars order hasn't shipped yet. The unfortunate part isn't that it hasn't shipped yet. I expected there to be, you know, delays because it's Pat McGrath Labs and they can't get their shipping right for the life of them. But I ordered everything with express shipping in the hopes that at least they will be shipped before the holidays and I will have them this week. But lo and behold, they still have not been shipped. I feel like a lot of people also missed the memo about the Divine Droid quad, the one with R2-D2, doesn't ship, or like was not set to ship before yesterday, December 27th. There was like a little note that I noticed after I had made my purchase that that specific quint is actually going to only ship starting December 27th. So on the one hand, I'm like, okay, you know, fine. I would rather they send me one package instead of wasting money and sending me two separate packages. But at the same time, I once again paid 17 euros for a service that I'm not getting, because what is happening here is that they use DHL Express. So once shit is shipped out, it arrives relatively quickly. But prior to that, they take their fucking sweet time. And I don't know whether it's unreasonable. I'm starting to think that maybe I'm just being unreasonable here, but like, if you order express shipping, don't you expect this to be like a full package service? Like, not, we see when we ship your order, you know, whenever the mood strikes. But then once we ship it, it will be there really quickly. I feel like it should be like a wholesome experience of like prioritizing shipping out orders that have been paid for expedited shipping and send them out with an express courier service. Does that sound unreasonable? Am I being crazy here? I don't know anymore. And I also wanted to share with you that I may have regrets about not picking up the 3PO quint. I had the bundle trio in my cart at checkout, and then last minute I decided to be what I thought, what I think, still to this day, is a smart consumer and not purchase shit that is really repetitive with within my own Pat McGrath even collection, which is golds and browns and corals. But first of all, Alicia, that sweet, sweet soul, she could sell me like cold fries from yesterday. And I'm giving that as an example because I think cold fries from the day before are one of the most disgusting things ever. I will be honest, it's not the whole quint. I'm actually lusting after one specific shade, which is the like bronzy brown shade, which on her swatch looked absolutely mesmerizing. So if some of you out there have purchased this quint, and I already talked to one of you in my comment section in one of my previous videos, if you have that quint and you have a bunch of browns from Pat McGrath, could you please, for my sake, go through your collection, see whether there's anything similar, and let me know whether I should stop lusting after this quint, because it is literally for that one shade. And I need to know whether it is at all worth it for me to make another order. Although I would feel so dumb if I did that. Now just do me a favor and let me know whether I'm missing on something there. I don't think I'm missing on much with the gold eyeshadow or the coral eyeshadows that are in that quint, but that brown shade just looks so incredibly delicious, and I am a sucker for interesting neutral shades, as you probably have found out during the course of this revisiting series. Also, I want to add a heartfelt thank you to all of you who gave me feedback on one of my previous revisiting videos. I think the one with the Tom Ford quads, where I talked about, you know, repetitive content and how do you feel about, you know, keeping or skipping some of the types of videos that I've been doing in this past year. And a lot of you like really went out of your way to leave me a comment, and I deeply appreciate that, because I know that typing out long comments on YouTube does take time. So I really appreciate it. I wanted to thank you so much. I'm taking my old Chanel Soleil Tendu Chanel bronzer. It seems like you're all in favor of keeping the status quo, so I'm not going to be changing up anything majorly. In the coming months, I will keep around the monthly roundup and empties, because something that I didn't really realize is that I will also often talk about products that are not necessarily new, but they've been a favorite of mine over the month. Like, for example, in my November favorites, I mentioned the Divine Rose 1 palette. You would never have heard how much I enjoy the Divine Rose 1 palette if I hadn't mentioned it in the November monthly roundup and empty. So let's just keep that format for now. Since we are on the Suqqu train, how about we use this blush which I talked about in my yearly favorites, which is the... Oh, there you are, asshole! I'm sorry, Queen Mona has returned after being absent the whole morning. Excuse me, she needs to be fed. Okay, Her Royal Majesty has been treated to her bite. I wasn't too worried about her, by the way, because we saw her several times lurking in the bushes in front of our house in the morning, but she just didn't want to come home. She apparently wasn't that hungry, which is strange, because Mona basically vacuums her food. Like, you think about food and she's already manifested next to you. But we were talking about this blush. This blush ended up in my yearly favorites for two reasons. First of all, because of the really beautiful melting powder blush formula. But what I find even more exceptional about this blush is the color, which I don't know whether you can appreciate, is this incredibly interesting yellow tinged orange. Again, I don't know that this is going to suit everyone out there, but on occasion it really fits my looks and I just really like it. This is one of those cases where a unique color is one that I truly love and appreciate in my collection. And I did use this highlighter recently on camera as well, but since we're doing Suqqu, I feel like we should stick with Suqqu. So I'm going to use the melting powder highlighter in the shade 101. This was part of a summer limited edition collection, so I don't know that you can still find this, but yeah, the formula again is just really beautiful, and the shade is the perfect like summer bronzy, goldy, coppery goodness. There she is, settling down for a long nap after being outside in the rain for hours. My husband always jokes that she must have a project outside somewhere, like lurking somewhere to stalk a mouse, or, you know, sitting in the bushes staring at a hole because she saw something in there, who knows. I mean, cats are mysterious little creatures, and simpleton humans shouldn't really try to understand their ways. I've zoomed you in a little bit and we can get started on the eye look, and I sort of want to do the killing two birds with one stone thing, because I want to revisit, can't really revisit something that I bought like yesterday, but I want to revisit the Victoria Beckham signature quad that was my basically latest eyeshadow palette purchase, besides the Star Wars quads, but quad queens. But since those are not going to arrive this year, I think we can count them as a purchase for next year. But this signature quad, I've actually really been enjoying it. I haven't really mentioned it anymore because I haven't really had the chance to use it on my channel, but like I've used it in my like normal life a few times to create looks, and I really like it. This is just a very utilitarian item. It is not matte eyeshadows are never going to like spark ultimate joy in me, but this is very useful and I really appreciate it for what it is. And just to emphasize, I could easily go only into the Suqqu quad to create a look with it, and that's usually what I do. But since I wanted to quickly mention that I've really been enjoying the Victoria Beckham signature quad, I wanted to throw it in. So I'm going to just put that lightest... Oh, maybe I should have told you what I'm doing. I'm putting basically this lightest brown beige shade through my crease. I'm also going to use the signature quad and this deepest brown shade to create just the tiniest bit more definition here in the outer corner and lower lashes, because the Suqqu quad doesn't really have that much depth when it comes to the tones of the eyeshadows. They are all quite like monochromatic and like tonally similar to each other. So I'm going to use this to create a bit of definition. Just like super lightly smoking that out into the outer corner. Do you guys have big New Year's Eve plans? I haven't really had like true like New Year's Eve plans in a really long time, because when you have a small child that goes to sleep at like 8 o'clock in the evening, there's not really much you can do to celebrate New Year unless you ship them off to their grandparents. And our like one set of grandparents doesn't live in the same country, so that's my parents. And my husband's parents are a party gang, so they usually have plans for New Year's. So we have really spent the last couple of New Year's Eves pretty chill at home, at the most having some friends over. And this year is not going to be much more different than that. There's not going to be any like huge partying involved, but I think I also mentioned that in my previous video. My best friend growing up in the burbs in Bulgaria is coming over to visit together with her partner, and they're coming exactly on New Year's Day, staying for a couple of days. So I'm going to celebrate New Year's with her, which we haven't done since I was in high school, which is going to be like truly amazing. Okay, now finally we're going into that Suqqu quad. I'm not going to beat around the bush here, and I'm going to tell you this is one of those examples where I was trying to be a different person. I was trying to be Claudia, my good friend Claudia, who cannot shut up about Suqqu. I just don't think Suqqu is the brand for me. I think their eyeshadows just lean in a little bit too much on the matte texture than anything else, and I don't get much joy out of matte eyeshadows. So I'm going to tell you quickly what we're going to do, and then while I'm doing my makeup we can chat a little bit more about this quad. But I'm going to do my favorite look with this quad, which is I'll put this one a little bit through my outer corner, this one all over my lid. I will top it off with a little bit of this yellow shade, which is a bit more like a toppery kind shade. And then actually I want to do something fun in the inner corners. So let's start off with what I do really like about this quad. I love the tone of the two like chocolate brown shades. They are so beautiful and so warm and just an absolute perfection to use during the summer. The formula is really elegant, really nice. I'm going to blend everything out later, don't worry. I'm just like laying down the color now. And I'm also going over the deep brown shade, because I don't have any intentions for that shade to really be showing up. It's just there to create a bit of depth. But I'm packing on a bit of that matte shade now. I'm going to switch to my big blender brush and give everything a nice little blend here. They're very easy to work with, super user-friendly, can't fault them for that. But they're just not my style. And specifically what's not my style are the two metallic shimmery shades in there. First of all, the two shades are so similar to each other that once you put them on the eye, you can barely tell the difference. One is just a little bit more rosy, and the other one is just a little bit more like chocolate brown rosy. But once you put them on the eye, I can tell you for a fact, you can't really tell that there's much of a difference there. So I find when you have a quad and two of the shades in a quad are so similar to each other, to me that's like super fucking wasted space. But what I really consider to not be my style is the fact that these metallic shades, well, metallic shades, it's very hard to call them metallic shades. They're more like a satin matte with a little bit of shimmer in it. These eyeshadows do not work over a glitter glue, because over a glitter glue they behave in the same way that a matte eyeshadow does. They become patchy and they become a little bit darker where the glue was still wet, and they behave exactly like a matte eyeshadow would if you were to apply them over a glitter glue, so I don't really make that mistake anymore. But because they behave so much like matte eyeshadows, that basically means that within this quad I have 3 eyeshadows which basically do the exact same thing and tonally almost look the same on my eyelids. So I just don't really understand it, and I think you can probably already appreciate that I put the matte eyeshadow here, I put the metallic over it, but you can't really tell the difference. Like if I had just put the matte eyeshadow over the lid, it would have looked exactly the same. With that said, I really love the tone of these browns because they are so like cheerful and so summery. but it's just too much of the same for so much money, because these are not cheap. I will give it to them for packaging. The packaging is really beautiful, luxurious, and a hefty feeling in the hand. I really like that. I'm going to take a little bit of this toppery shade here now, spritz it with a bit of Fix Plus and apply it like on the center portion of my lids. But I think you should also take my opinion on these eyeshadows with a bit of a grain of salt, because I understand that these are very forgiving eyeshadows if you have more textured eyelids. I don't know that I have very textured eyelids, so I don't really notice a lot of issues with Pat McGrath eyeshadows, you know, the really metallic eyeshadows being too like unflattering looking because I have too much texture on my lids. So I can totally understand that if you're tackling different like issues on your lids, you really are very picky about the textures and the formulas that you put on your lids. But because I don't really have that problem quite yet, I am not able to appreciate the superiority of this formula compared to other formulas in my collection. Even like the Tom Ford eyeshadows or the Guerlain eyeshadows, I far prefer those. I'm just going to mix these two shades to put on my lower lash line, because like I said, they're basically going to look pretty similar, and I might apply the tiniest bit of that dark brown from Victoria Beckham to create the tiniest bit more definition in the very outer corner, just so it blends better with the upper lash. And then we're going to do something fun on the inner corners. But yeah, this is in a nutshell a little bit my opinion on this specific quad. And because I only have the one quad, this quad from Suqqu, I'm not really an authority when it comes to their eyeshadow offerings. So again, take my opinion on Suqqu with a grain of salt. I'm taking just the tiniest bit of the dark brown from Victoria Beckham to pop here on the very outer edge of the eye. I have learned that Suqqu just is not for me in terms of eyeshadows. I'm going to take Intensifies and apply a little bit of that in my inner corners, because I actually don't remember how that Colourpop eyeshadow behaves. So let's find out. And the eyeshadow that I'm referring to is in the Just My Luck palette, which was a part of a collection they released some years ago with like these 9 pans that had all sorts of different colors and were centered around like a different monochromatic color story. And of course green was the one that I was the most attracted to. Surprise, surprise. And the only reason that I'm keeping this eyeshadow palette is this eyeshadow here in the center, which is also the one that I want to apply in my inner corners today, which is this absolutely glorious lime green sparkly goodness. I have nothing like it. And it's just so pretty that I'm willing to keep the whole 9 pan just for that one eyeshadow. It would be absolutely amazing if Pat graces us with an eyeshadow like this someday, so that first of all I have it in my, you know, Pat McGrath collection, and second of all I can finally gift this eyeshadow palette to someone who will enjoy all the eyeshadows in it and not just the one. So, what do you think? The eye look turned out really pretty, but you know, if my favorite thing about the eye look is the inner corner pop of highlight, that tells you a lot about how I feel about the rest of these eyeshadows. Just to quickly tell you that on my lips I have a super old ass lipstick. This is an Urban Decay lipstick from their collaboration with Jean-Michel Basquiat. This is the shade Epigram. Actually one of my favorite lipsticks from Urban Decay, and unfortunately one that was limited edition. I don't know that I have a color in my collection that is quite a due for this lipstick. I don't think throughout this whole video I even told you what quad this is. This was part of their like summer limited edition collection, and it is the signature color Eyes in 115. I will also have it in the description box. I've been really good about letting you know what products I used in my description box. Anyway, I think I'm going to stop trying to be other people and try not to buy pot eyeshadows or eyeshadow formulas that I already know are probably not going to be for me. Because from everything that Claudia had already said about the formula of Suqqu, I thought they might not be for me, and this quad just kind of like confirms it. Anyways, thanks for watching and putting up with my ramblings. We shall see each other again to rank all of these palettes. Bye!